Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive, into the amazing world of India's kingdoms.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
We're talking empires, dynasties, all the stuff that shaped this land, over thousands of years.
Buckle up. It's a lot to cover.
It is. We'll try to hit the highlights, right?
Absolutely. The most captivating parts of each kingdom.
Okay, so let's go way back.
Way back.
To the Indus Valley Civilization. Like 3300 to 1300 BCE. Think about that.
That's over 5,000 years ago. It's incredible.
And these people were so advanced for their time.
Right. Like pioneers of urban planning. You look at their cities, Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa.
They had grid systems, amazing drainage, public baths.
Things we associate with modern cities. It blows my mind.
Crazy, right? Like, what was life like back then?
Exactly. And what happened to them? So many questions.
It's a giant puzzle, especially since we haven't even deciphered their script.
Yeah, those symbols. It's like a secret code we can't crack.
Okay, so let's jump ahead a bit to the Kuru dynasty. Around 1200 to 500 BCE.
Okay, so this is where we see the shift, from civilizations to kingdoms.
More structured, right?
Exactly. And the Kurus are connected to one of the most important epics in Hindu literature.
The Mahabharata.
That's it. Filled with stories of kings and wars and philosophy. So much insight into ancient Indian culture.
And from there, we see the rise of these massive empires.
Like the Mauryan Empire, 322 to 185 BCE.
Huge. Covered a major part of the Indian subcontinent.
It was massive. And under Emperor Ashoka, it reached its peak. He was a fascinating figure.
Yeah, he started as a fierce conqueror.
Oh, totally. Ruthless. But then something happened.
The Kalinga War.
That was a turning point. It was so bloody and brutal. Ashoka had a change of heart.
Yeah, he renounced violence and embraced Buddhism. Such a dramatic shift.
Right. From conqueror to peacemaker, he promoted tolerance throughout his empire, even inscribed his edicts, his messages on pillars and rocks.
Advocating for nonviolence, right? Amazing legacy.
It really is.
Okay, so we've been talking about the North, but what about the South?
Oh yeah, the South was happening too. We've got the Chera dynasty, ruling from around 300 BCE to the 12th century CE.
Long reign.
And they were masters of trade, controlled key ports, connected India to the Roman Empire.
Spices, pearls, going all the way to Rome.
That's right, 2,000 years ago.
Hard to imagine those ancient trade routes.
Truly global. And speaking of connections, we've got the Kushan Empire, ruling from the 1st to the 3rd century CE. They had a big role in spreading Buddhism outside of India.
Oh, interesting. Where did it reach?
Central Asia and even further along the Silk Road. You can see this cultural exchange in their art, too.
Their art.
Yeah. The Gandhara style. Blended Greek and Indian elements.
That's fascinating. Art reflects history.
Okay.
While we're talking art, we got to mention the Pallava dynasty.
3rd to 9th century CE.
Down south.
Yep, and they were incredible sculptors. Left behind these amazing works.
Like where?
Oh, check out Mahabalipuram. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site on the coast of Tamil Nadu. Rock-cut temples, intricate sculptures, a testament to their devotion and skill.
Wow. So we've covered a lot of ground already. Some major early kingdoms and empires.
We've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. Now we're getting into what some call the golden age of empires in India.
Oh, yeah.
From like the 6th to the 10th century CE, dynasties popping up everywhere, leaving these incredible architectural wonders.
When I see pictures of these temples, it just blows my mind.
It's hard to comprehend, right?
Like, how do they even build those things back then?
The technology and the manpower.
It's amazing. Like the Chalukya dynasty, 6th to 8th century CE, their rock-cut temples are just insane.
Oh yeah, the Chalukyas, masters of rock architecture. They carved entire temples out of solid rock. Badami, Patadakal.
UNESCO World Heritage Sites now.
Of course. You can see the dynasty's power, their devotion, all in those intricate details.
It's wild. Like they looked at a mountain and thought, temple.
Pretty much. And then you've got the Rashtrakuta dynasty, 8th to 10th century CE, known for their military strength, but also incredible builders.
What did they build?
The Ellora Caves. Have you seen those?
I've seen pictures.
It's a complex of 34 cave temples carved right into a hillside, representing Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain faiths.
Wow. So inclusive.
It really was a remarkable time.
Okay, so we've got empires ruling the land. What about the sea?
Ah, the sea. That's where the Chola dynasty comes in. 9th to 13th century CE, ruling the waves. The Indian Ocean was their domain.
So they had a strong navy.
Oh, yeah, super powerful. Their influence stretched all the way to Southeast Asia, trade networks, cultural exchange. It was a huge empire.
Wow. Any notable structures from them?
The Brihadiswara Temple in Thanjavur, it's massive, a real symbol of their power and architectural skill.
I got to look that up. Okay, so
Yeah.
from ruling the seas to amazing temples. We got to talk about the Hoysala dynasty too, right?
10th to 14th century CE, known for their intricate temple carvings.
Intricate how? Oh, you got to see the temples at Belur and Halabidi, like giant stone tapestries, every detail perfectly carved, scenes from Hindu mythology, animals, dancers. It's like a storybook in stone. It's incredible how each dynasty added its own unique touch.
For sure.
But around the 12th century CE, things started to change.
Right, with the arrival of the Ghurid dynasty.
The Ghurids.
They came from present-day Afghanistan, and they marked a major turning point. Their conquests paved the way for Islamic rule in India.
Ah, so a new chapter begins.
Exactly, a new era of cultural exchange and architectural fusion, and the Ghurids led to the Delhi sultanates, a series of dynasties ruling from Delhi.
Okay, so who was first?
A slave dynasty, early 13th century CE, founded by Qutb bin Aibak.
Aibak, yeah. I've heard of him.
He started the construction of the Qutb Minar, that huge victory tower in Delhi.
Still standing today. Pretty impressive for a former slave turned sultan.
It really is. Then came the Khilji dynasty, late 13th, early 14th century CE, known for their military ambition.
They wanted to expand.
Oh yeah, big time.
Uh-huh.
Alauddin Khilji, the main ruler, he was a brilliant military strategist, expanded the Sultanate's territory, but he was also known for his brutality, like during the siege of Chittor.
A bit of a mixed legacy then.
Definitely a complex figure. And after the Khiljis came the Tughlaq dynasty.
The Tughlaqs, okay.
14th century CE. And they were known for some pretty radical ideas.
Like what?
Well, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he tried to shift the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, down in the Deccan region.
Bold move.
It didn't really work out, but it shows you how ambitious they were.
They were thinking big. So all this is happening in the north, but what's going on in the south at this time?
The south had its own power player, the Vijayanagara Empire, ruling from the 14th to the 17th century CE.
Okay, so they were holding strong against the Delhi sultanates.
They were a force to be reckoned with, their capital at Hampi, filled with incredible temples, and they were big patrons of art and literature.
So they had their own vibrant culture flourishing.
Exactly, a real mix of powers and cultures across India during this time. And as we head into the 15th century CE, get ready for the arrival of the Mughals.
The Mughals, I think everyone's heard of them.
They're kind of a big deal. Founded by Babur in 1526 CE, they ruled over much of India for over 300 years.
Wow. And their legacy is everywhere, right?
Art, architecture, cultural fusion. They shaped India's identity in so many ways. And of course, you can't talk about the Mughals without mentioning the Taj Mahal.
That's like the ultimate symbol of Mughal architecture.
Shah Jahan's love letter to his wife. His reign was the golden age of Mughal architecture, but it was his grandfather, Akbar, who really built the foundation for a strong and unified Mughal empire.
Akbar the Great.
Exactly. Known for his religious tolerance, he really tried to integrate different faiths into his administration.
So different Mughal emperors had different approaches.
Oh yeah, each one left their mark in their own way. But it wasn't just the Mughals running things.
Right, there were other kingdoms around too.
Yep. The Qutb Shahi dynasty down in Golconda. They controlled the diamond trade, built the Charminar in Hyderabad. And then you have Sher Shah Suri, ruled for a short time in the 16th century. But he made some big changes, like building the Grand Trunk Road.
That's still a major road today, connecting cities across northern India. Amazing. And what about the Maratha Empire?
Yes, the Marathas. Led by Shivaji Maharaj, they challenged Mughal rule head-on in the 17th and 18th centuries.
I've heard they were fierce warriors.
Known for their guerrilla tactics and their desire for independence, they really carved out their own empire across western and central India.
So even with the Mughal Empire so powerful, you still had these other kingdoms rising up.
Oh yeah, it was a really dynamic period in Indian history.
Lots going on.
Totally. And as we move into the late 18th century, we see the Sikh Empire emerge in the northwest.
The Sikhs, okay.
Yeah. Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he unified the Sikh territories of Punjab, created a kingdom known for its military strength, but also justice and secularism.
I read somewhere that Ranjit Singh's court was super diverse. People from all different faiths had important positions.
He was ahead of his time in a lot of ways. Ranjit Singh modernized the army, implemented reforms, promoted inclusivity, a real visionary leader.
And while that's happening up north, down south, the Wodeyar dynasty was still going strong.
Yep, still making their mark on history. Down in Mysore, The Wodeyars were big supporters of art and culture, and you can see their influence in the Mysore Palace.
That palace is stunning.
It's incredible, a beautiful blend of architectural styles, a real reflection of their heritage.
It's amazing to think about how much history we've covered in this deep dive.
Oh, you know, right?
From the Indus Valley Civilization to the rise and fall of empires, we've seen so much change.
The ebb and flow of power, cultural fusion, architectural marvels, it's mind-blowing.
It really is. And it speaks to the resilience and creativity of the Indian people.
Absolutely. Each dynasty, each empire, they've all contributed to the India we know today. It's a rich tapestry woven over thousands of years.
It makes you wonder what stood out to you the most in all of this. Like what really resonated with you?
Honestly, for me, it's the diversity and the interconnectedness of these kingdoms. Yeah, there were periods of conflict for sure,
Yeah.
but there was always this undercurrent of exchange. Cultures blending, ideas spreading, art evolving. History is never a simple story.
No, it's complicated. Lots of layers.
Exactly. It's a mix of influences and perspectives. And that's something we should remember as we continue to learn from the past.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive, I have one last question for you and for our listeners to think about. How did all these ancient kingdoms shape the India we know today?
It's a great question. And there's no easy answer, but I think their legacies are all around us. In the art, the architecture, the languages, the traditions, even in the values that continue to define India's culture. And maybe, by understanding this history, we can better appreciate the India of today and tomorrow.